Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but you just didn't quite know how or where to get the money? Well, every Sunday at 7:30, Dan Borrero and me go live to help you not only put together an action plan for your real estate investing career, but to help you wrap your mind around why is it that some people continuously buy house after house after house after house, year after year after year, and then why some people may never buy a house, or they'll buy one and then they can't quite get the puzzle put together to buy another house. So we want to help you unpack where you are with your real estate. If you have never bought anything, if you want to buy more, and with our years of over 50 years of doing real estate, Dan, I can't believe together we have over 50 years. And with your brother, that's another 30 years. Good God.
Yeah, I think it's over 55 years. Well, you're in it since 2004, right? So that's 21 years.
21 years.
I've been in it since 89. So what is that? 15,
A lot of
41 years.
years. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter, man. Doesn't
It's over 60 years.
matter. So Dan and I were on the phone the other day, and I want to make sure people understand that we get bad tenants that try to apply to live in our units. And one of the key indicators that we look for with bad tenants is no rental history. No rental history. So I was on the phone with Dan when I just happened to take a call, and the guy, I was like, tell me when. Here's a question you must ask all prospective tenants. When does your lease end? Dan, if someone tells you, I ain't got no lease, or they say, I'm on month to month, or they say, my lease ended last month. Give me some of those things that goes in your mind when they say that.
Sometimes they have legitimate. They'll
Sometimes.
say, "Listen, you know what? It was month to month. The owner's selling the property. It ended last month, but he's giving me a month to month lease, and he's hoping that I get out as soon as possible so he could proceed." That sounds reasonable, right? Um, when someone comes to me and says, "I got to be out right now, and I'll pay you up the year up front,"
That is
that that's an indication that they're trying to buy me, right? They're trying to buy my ignorance, right? Now, I've actually posted that on Instagram, and I get these trolls like, "Well, I pay my rent up for a whole year up front, and I always pay my rent on time." And I'm like, okay, there's exceptions to the rules, like there are in every rule, right?
hmm
But the reality is, Chris, what's your first thought when someone says they're willing to pay you for the 6 months in advance in cash or a year? What do you tell them?
I'm like, I want it to be real clear. I want people to feel my energy when I say, I don't want your money. I don't want it. I just don't want the money.
Yeah, my first reaction is, why are they trying to sell me?
Or
Like,
you question it. You want to
yeah,
know
what's
why.
what's the urgency? Why is there urgency? So my thing is, if no one's told they have to leave next week,
Hold on, Dan. You telling me that the landlord not going to say, "Hey, look, I know your lease ends next December, but I want you out next week."
right? Yeah, that doesn't happen. If and your lease is ending, right? So even if the landlord doesn't tell you, right?
Responsible people do.
Yeah, like I send out my rent increases on average 3.5 months in advance. What doesn't irrelevant to what the law says. I don't care if the law says all I have to do it is 30 days or 60 days. I'm giving people that notice because the reality is I want them to have the time that they need to go look for something that is comfortable for them. But the truth is, let's say if you don't have a landlord like me and they give you the 30-day notice like they would give normal, depending what the law is, you still had more than a week.
So, Dan, when a prospect says, "Mr. Barrero, my lease is up. What's today? March 3rd. My lease is up April 30th. I'm trying to get my ducks in a row so I can have my stuff together by the time I move out. I want to find something before I actually have my leases up." Tell me about your mindset when you hear that, Dan.
That's responsibility. That's a responsible person. But there are exceptions. So I just what was it, a couple of months ago I had an apartment where the person says, "Listen, I need to get out because I told the landlord I was leaving. I gave a deposit, first month's rent, and Now they had a catastrophe or whatever happened where I was renting and I can't move in,
Yeah, that
right?
happens. Yeah.
That happens. So
Not a lot though.
not a lot. That doesn't happen often. Another time, someone came to me with the same thing, where the apartment they rented, that they agreed to rent, now the tenant that was moving out chose to stay there, and now the landlord has to evict them, and that's going to
Yeah,
take several months. That was in Florida,
could happen.
right? So those are things that happen, but that gets
Not every
back to
day though.
that doesn't happen every day. But
Nah.
there are some excuses or some reasons that make sense.
So listen, we take your phone calls here Sunday night. The number 757-204-1332. We want to pour into you, round up homies. We want to find out what it is you're doing. Are you doing any deals? Tell us what roadblocks you're going up against, what you're unsure of. Dan, we had a phenomenal class today with the rental property buying blueprint. We almost had 40 people in here. Dan, you did a phenomenal job, brother.
As you did, man. You always bring the A game.
So we were teaching guys. I mean, they had some unbelievable questions. And if whoever was on there today, I mean, wow, the questions that came through, people doing deals, how to get the what
Bro,
was
that
it?
was the raw music for that.
What did I put?
You who goes boom, boom, boom.
Oh, I hit it.
No.
I thought I you hear this too?
No, that one's good. Okay.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I got it.
People
We're gonna have to hire a new tech guy.
I did go to school for this, you're right. I don't sorry about that. Yeah, that was pretty rough. What was it? Oh, how to find a lot of people were interested in Section 8, Dan. You found that interesting?
Yeah, man. You see what a lot of the questions we're getting lately is about Section 8, how worried people landlords Section 8 landlords that specialize with Section 8, they're worried right now.
They are worried, but I don't think there's gonna be a problem. But here's the thing I want to talk about. Okay, say you're worried that Donald Trump's gonna cut off Section 8. From my perspective, not to say that it is necessarily true, but in my mind, I'm like, if I'm Trump, all my boys own the buildings that get the rent from Section 8. Why would I cut it off? All the
So,
people that all the people that
you know what the crazy part is?
what?
The whether people want to admit this or not, Trump's base is Section 8 recipients.
Government. You know, when I used to go to
If
Trump
you,
University. I
yeah.
went to Trump University.
Did you really?
I did. I went through the whole
You're
thing.
the only one avenue that's paid for that.
I did. And I never forget the first day. He goes, Donald Trump always looks for government programs. Always looks for government. And I never forget that day. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. This is back in 2005.
Okay. Well, look, I don't believe he's going to take Section 8 away. What I do
Heck
believe is
no.
that he's going to cut he's going to cut a lot of look, he's gone into every department, right? And what's amazing is that you got these 19-year-olds determining who gets cut and who doesn't instead of having forensic accountants going in there, which is personally it's mind-boggling to me. But, the reality is when you cut 2,500 people, the necessity still exists,
They can't
right?
house him, Dan.
The necessity still exists, but now you have less people doing the same work. So I don't think Section 8 is going away. I just think Section 8 it's going to take longer to get your checks once from the time that someone moves in. It's going to take longer to get your inspections. It's going to take everything's going to take longer to the point where you have to then decide do you have the wherewithal and the patience to
Yeah.
fathom such a thing.
Ernesto was in our class today. It was mind blowing, he says, Dan. Dan
Thank you,
was
Ernesto.
who was in there? The phenomenal. Oh, Miss James. She has some good questions. She's in New York with you.
There you go. Phenomenal session, she says.
New York
Way to be,
with
Miss
you.
James. Thank you.
What up, Dave? Dave Borrero. Dave, I told Dan that everybody wanted you to they wanted to get rid of Dan and just have you here from the last time.
I'm flattered, but I don't believe that.
Y'all, I tried to get rid of Dan. He strong armed me to come back, so he's back. We know
I
he ain't
thank
worth a
you
damn.
people for that, but I don't know if you believe. I believe all the hype.
What do you say about Section 8? Dave Borrero is a real estate broker, been doing it forever, and an investor. What do you say about Section 8, Dave?
Well, I think my brother and I are more than in line together with that. We had we've had probably more bad experiences than good experiences with them. But
Why is
there's
that,
always
you
the
think?
exception. Uh, we it's not really what we do. So I guess when we look at it through those lenses
Hmm.
of not what we really do, I guess we see the more bad than good on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you always say, my brother always says. I mean, we know people that do that's all they do, and they
Hmm.
absolutely love it. And I
I
think
absolutely love it.
yeah, I think for us, it's
Shit, I
just
love
it's just one of those things. We not that we say no to it, but we're a little reluctant to utilize that platform unless we absolutely have to, and also unless we absolutely know the person.
it.
You know,
Hmm.
so.
Get your questions in, y'all. Listen, 757-204-1332. We want to hear from you. Oh, I can keep going here, Dan. I can ask you guys questions all day long. So when you guys buy a piece of real estate, I'm buying one tomorrow, right? 325,000. We're holding back 10,000 at closing. I want to make sure that I want to find out what y'all do. The seller has not moved out yet. So
Oh,
do
you're
you
holding
guys
an escrow.
you're holding back? What do y'all do? I want to what do you guys do when the seller is still in the property and you buy it?
I don't close on it.
Yeah, we don't usually have that problem. So, Chris, the type of things you're buying are a lot different than what we typically buy. But I can see that happening to you more often than not, right? I mean, we've had that conversation many times. That you had one lady that was in there like 3 months. You're like, what do I do? Like,
They all say 1 month, right? I
first
just
of all, how is she
you know,
even there in the first place? Why is she still there, right?
yeah. You know, she
Um,
forfeited her money. You got to hope she. I held back 2,500, and she just
well, you didn't
walked
hold
away
back
from it.
enough. That's the
I
problem.
learned that. I know, Dave. I know. I learned that you
I
did.
remember saying to you, I'm like 2,500. She's never gonna leave.
Yeah,
Why
I
would
wouldn't leave.
you?
I
Even 10,000. So when we do that over here, for us, it's called UNO, use of occupancy, right? Which is what
Mhm.
you really gave her. You gave her a continued use of the occupancy.
Yep.
So when we do that, it's usually 25 to $50,000, depending on the size of the transaction, of course.
Tell me about the size of the transaction, Dave.
I mean, anywhere from
6,
say
7.
600 to $1 million. It could
Yeah.
be $50,000 deposit that they leave in escrow. So
Mhm.
they're not going to stick around forever, right? It's and when you're dealing with homes
You
like
say
that,
something?
but you it's a little different for you because you're doing, you know, the transactions that you're handling are much different than what we do. Like we're basically buying it, and the people that are selling it want to sell it. They want to leave. You're
Mhm.
more in a position where like they have to leave.
Yeah.
And if you have to leave, you may not know where you're going. When you want to leave, you know where you're going.
Well, I live in a town where there's 7 military bases, and I'm hoping that they don't realign them. Hopefully, that it will be okay with the
Yeah,
Norfolk. Mhm.
you. I think you're gonna be fine, Chris. Because
Yeah. Well,
I was reading an article. Right now, we have the highest enlisting rate in the past 6 months than we've had in a real long time. Where there's over 350 new enlistments per day
mm.
happening in the United States.
Think about
So
listening. E?
so what does that tell you? Is that military bases are going to they need housing. That's what military bases are, right? Not only are they housing, but it's where the
Got to put them somewhere.
operations are happening. Yeah,
We were, Norfolk is one of the biggest military bases. We got 2 here, Portsmouth and Norfolk. I mean, they're just huge, dude. You're talking about just a lot of people. But what happens is they get these orders to move, right? They bought a house. They didn't know they were going to get orders to move, and it's like they got to go, right? But they need the money to go. So I've had this talk with my business partner last week. I'm like, what are we gonna do? They have, they're not rich people. They need us to close on it because they won't be able to move.
I
So
always
I'm like,
found that weird how why there aren't more of them renting as opposed to buying. in consideration that they, like you said, you talked about that in the class today, right? The person said, "Well, I'm just going to give it to the bank unless you want it," right?
Same thing.
That's just like mind blowing to me. Like that's your only recourse. That's it. That's the only thing you come up with. Like, why can't they just say give it to their real estate agent and the real estate agent works the process while they're gone?
No
Like,
equity.
they don't.
House
Oh,
need
well,
work.
they're upside down. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
they can. Fred, what up, y'all?
that's just
Put
tough. That's really tough.
put your name in the chat. Where you chiming in from? What up, Fred? Right here in town. Put your name in the chat. Round up, and members get questions answered first. Send your question in or give us a call. Area code 757-204-1332. So people that moving out, you say y'all would hold 50,000. So that's gonna be
Well, I say, I mean, you guys tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I would say you have to. So typically, if the seller wants to stay longer,
not
until
that they
that
want to stay. They need the money.
right, but they need the money to leave, right? But they don't
Mhm.
need all the money. So you have to keep enough to make them want what they left behind, to make sure that they're not going to stay, and then there's a per diem to it, right? So,
But
maybe there's an extra
David,
week.
let's talk about what we did a couple of times in Florida with the condos, where we would let them stay because many times they needed to sell the condo to have the money and the down payment to show
For the
that they were
next
ready to
place.
move on the next. On they're going from a 1 bedroom, a 2 bedroom condo into a house, for instance, right? Because the family's growing or they're getting married, or so they say, but we want to stay and we're willing to pay, we're willing to pay rent. I'm saying, okay, well, what does that look like? Well, 3 months, 4 months. I says, okay, so let's do a month to month lease. And the market rent, let's say, is 2,000. But if the first 3 months you're going to pay 2,000, which is a market rent, and every month after the rent goes up to 3,000.
Oh
So
wow.
there's a
That's
carrot.
nasty.
It's not nasty. It's an encouragement.
That's
You said
nasty.
you needed three
Well,
months.
it also, Danny, depends. We did one where the guy said it was that 2-1 that we did, but nevertheless, they basically said we want to sell you the house with the condo, and I think they said we might stay 8 months, but we might leave in 6 months. But it's a conversation that was had up front, and we knew what we were getting into when we got into it. And I think that when you deal with people like that on a upfront basis, I
Yeah.
think you can come to much more reasonable terms because the expectations of that situation were already put on the table properly.
But not only that, we also have a lease in place, right? It's a month to month lease. They've agreed to pay a security deposit. They've agreed to pay the first month's rent. So now, in the event of any disagreement, I'm taking them to court as me being the landlord, them being the tenant. And in the state of Florida, I could get them out in a month and a half to 3 months. So it gives me recourse, and I have the documentation proving that they're tenants, not previous owners.
I love it. I love it. So Zillow was saying, did we talk about this, y'all? Y'all know I got the number 5 hottest market in the country.
We talked about that last week, Chris.
Oh, we did. So
Yeah.
here's the map now, y'all.
So let's go by those. Let's go. What's the number one?
Number 1.
Is it Buffalo number one?
Yeah, I still can't get over Buffalo.
Wait, you're talking the hottest market for foreclosures, Chris, or downturns?
No, the hottest market for real estate sales.
Oh
So
wow!
Buffalo's been climbing up into
What's
that.
going on in Buffalo?
You know what, bro? I don't know. You ever been to Buffalo? Buffalo's cold as shit.
I dated a girl in Buffalo. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone when I caught the train in there.
Yeah, Buffalo's like I don't understand it,
I don't want
man.
to go there.
I don't
It's
want to go there.
freezing. It's
Not only is
cold.
it freezing, it's like it's not even pretty in the summer either.
Really?
So yeah, it's the only thing that it may have gone for it is that it's right next to Niagara Falls.
That's
So if you
true.
go to the Niagara Falls from the New York side, it's in Buffalo. It's actually pretty. You got Buffalo State University there, but I got to tell you, man, it's biting cold up there in the
I
winter.
wouldn't go. For a New Yorker to say it's cold, man, that's some shit.
Richmond, Virginia.
Huh?
That's you right there, Richmond, Virginia, right?
Yeah,
Richmond?
but I'm only an hour from Richmond. I'm only an hour
So
from Richmond.
Providence, is that Providence in
Yeah.
Massachusetts?
Yep, Providence.
Oh
Was
no,
it Rhode Island?
Providence, Rhode Island. Okay,
Rhode
yeah, that
Island,
makes
yeah.
sense.
I don't know what's there either. So we got Hartford,
Philly, I know
Connecticut,
Philly is moving. A lot of my
Philly,
mentees are buying up there as well.
Richmond here. We got Charlotte. Well, you know Charlotte's jumping.
Shopping market.
Indianapolis. I would never move to Indiana. Ugh, God. Ooh, Indiana. It's landlocked. It's got no water of this other than this little piece, and just the values there are just. Ugh.
Again,
There you
it's
go,
not
St.
about what we
Louis.
like; it's about
That's
what
true.
makes money.
Oh, there's
That's
got to
true.
be something that's pushing everyone there, right? Like we used to say, "What's the draw?
What's your
Where's the
daughter?
draw? What are we using? What are
What?
we selling?
Yeah,
Where's the sizzle? Where's the sizzle?" That's the
It's a
question.
good
yeah.
one.
Usually, it's lakes or employment. That's what or the opportunity of potential employment. But again, guys, we are here to serve you. Anybody have a question for us? Feel free to call in that number right there, 757-204-1332.
You guys are
There's
quiet tonight.
nothing going on in Buffalo.
Oh, it's
Somebody
cold as
says,
sin there.
"Yeah, you couldn't get me to go. I don't even want to go visit anymore." So I want y'all to talk about people that are on the fence with just buying. Do y'all deal with first-time home buyers at all?
No, that's you got to talk to my brother about that.
I so a lot of the people on my team do, but uh, it's like I almost feel bad for them because like if you're trading from one house to another, uh, you're getting paid too much for the house you're selling, but you're also going to pay too much for the house you're buying. So it's more of a trade off.
Mhm.
But that first time home buyer, I mean, they usually stick to the lower side of the market in Jersey. The lower side of the market is on the fours and fives.
Good
Um,
Lord.
but
Sheesh.
they have the $15,000. That's back $15,000 grant
Credit.
for the first time home buyer. But when you're buying a $200,000 house and you get a $15,000 down payment, it helps. But you're buying five, six, seven. It's not much.
Peanuts.
Yeah.
Well, I just so I don't know if y'all know I hired a chef tonight. Private chef came to my house and cooked dinner, and he's a renter. So I was just talking to him about becoming a homeowner, and I just want to have empathy. When I look at you guys, even for myself, I can go get a line of credit, buy. I could buy any house, whatever. But when I think about how does an average person build wealth over time without having any type of real estate? I don't even know how. What are they doing? The stock market?
Chris, think
Caller,
about it.
1 second. Caller, hold 1 second, please.
I think personally, start a business. Doesn't have to be real estate. Start
Business
something you
owner.
could afford, right? Become a business owner, and
You
then
just still got to be skilled at that shit, Dan.
while
You got to have some skill to run a business.
you just got to have mindset. David, did we ever have the skill set when any business we ever opened up?
I-
You and I.
We had, like many people that start any business, have a lot more skill than they believe they do. You just to have the mind process to even think about opening a business, that in itself is a skill.
Let's take this call because then we'll come back to this. Caller, state your name and where you're calling from, please. Caller, you on the line? Hello? Hold on a second. Okay, you're there. Hold on. Something's going on. Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to get you back on here. Caller, you there? Hold on. Wait a minute, caller. I'm have. Let me switch some settings here. Dan said he's gonna fire me. I got you. I hear you. 1 second. Don't move. Don't move. Dan, don't fire me. Don't move. Hold on. Don't move yet. Don't
Happens
move.
when Allison's not here.
You're right. We need Allison here. My Bluetooth.
Dan said I'm gonna fire him.
This shit working. Stupid thing. I got a roadcaster. For some reason, y'all. Caller, state your name. Where you calling from?
Just put
Okay, my name's Tim Whalen. I'm from Kentucky.
Tim, you was on the
you?
class today?
Huh?
Were you-
Yes, I was in class today.
Oh, okay, cool. Tim from Kentucky. Hey, I got you on speakerphone. You could ask a question, but Dan and them won't be. They won't be able to. You have to listen through the phone. Okay. Ask your question, then I gotta hang up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. First of all, I just want to thank you all for putting on the class today, man. It was awesome. Paid so little for so much value. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, brother.
My question is I got a offer. I want to make an offer on this property. It was built in 1906. They're wanting $165,000 for it.
Yeah.
But my contractor's saying that I can only put the minimum of $70,000 in repair. But the comps is saying the properties around the surrounding area is $250,000 to $275,000.
And what's your purchase price?
So the asking price is $165,000.
Oh yeah, you're way off. But go ahead.
Okay. So what do you all think?
All right, I'm gonna let this guy chime in. Thank you, brother. Thanks, Tim. I don't know what's wrong with my technology. I cannot get this shit working. I saw Dave's face get 2 shades lighter when he said the house was built in 2006. Dave, I know you're not a white dude. I mean, anyway, you got some color, dog. Let's start there. And you guys aren't scared of old houses, but you guys are not an average investor. You're not average. And you do.
We have houses pre-war. I mean, we have houses that have stones for foundations as opposed to blocks or even poured cement. Yeah.
He's in Kentucky.
Like they're boulders with what used to be cement that's now sand in between them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we have
price is 165. This shit's worth $2. I mean, those numbers are not even on the same solar system. I'm like, for me to take on a 1906 house, well, y'all go ahead, y'all talk about it because I have a whole different opinion.
Well, that's Danny gets that. Like, I remember when you walked Philly over there, you were talking about all that stuff.
He likes it.
I mean, he not only does he like it, it's to one point. At one point in time, that's the only thing we knew and recognized because we. Like a new house was 100 years old to us, you know. It was like if we had something that was like 50, 60 years old, like damn, that's like brand new.
Oh wow!
We don't have to rip out all the electric and all the lead pipes, and we had houses that there was gas leading to light fixtures to turn on the light. And then those pipes were just abandoned in the walls. Remember those, Danny?
Well, sometimes they weren't abandoned. Like we had to be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was still gas going through the lines. They were just capped at the end.
For the lights.
Back in the days in these old buildings in the city of New York, lights used to be they were fed with gas. So you would turn on the flicker, and that would be your light, like a candle, but fed with gas. So sometimes when we're breaking up these walls, the guys had to be careful that we don't hit one of these pipes that might still be active.
So what did you got for him? Purchase price 165 is only worth $2 something.
I didn't hear what he was really saying. I couldn't.
Give the purchase price. So I mean, I would think what
was the purchase price, Chris?
165.
And what was it? What was the after renovation value?
Only worth 265. That's all it's worth.
And how did he say how much work he was gonna have to do into it?
This shit was built in 1906. Dan, what do you think? It needs everything.
Oh, 1906. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Not even. Why bother? It's not even a thought process. Even if you spend, where's that at?
Kentucky.
Kentucky labor's cheaper, but materials not. So, no way. No way. Does it make sense?
No freaking way.
I mean, there's barely room for a hold on it. Forget a flip.
Tell them why.
I mean, you're gonna a 1906. You're going to touch one thing, the next thing's going to break, and then you're going to get into a wall
out of square
you're not familiar with, to find things you don't know what they are.
There's going to be termite damage everywhere.
2x4. What do you mean? I
Yeah.
got the wall, the 2x4 the door don't fit.
Yeah, well, those are called true 2x4s. those 2x4s, it's actual lumber, like real lumber.
Real lumber.
Right?
Real lumber.
My friend here wants to know why the door wouldn't fit on a new. We don't use 2x4s anymore. E. The wood, the power structure.
No, they're called 2x4s, but a
Yeah.
2x4 is really an inch and
Shorter,
a inch,
quarter and a
inch
half,
and a right. What is it? Inch and a half?
3/4, inch and
Inch,
3/4 by 3 3/4.
yeah, inch by 3 3/4. Actually,
All
3.5.
of
No,
What
yeah,
happens?
no, I think it's a quarter, but basically
Anyway, either way, it doesn't
door
fit.
the door frames of today are designed for the 2x4s of today, not the
Mhm.
true. They call them true 2x4s. So because they call them true 2x4s because they're actually 2x4.
2x4.
Right. So the new door frames of today, you'd have to extend the jamb. So you'd
I
have to
think it
rip
should
a
be
piece of
illegal.
wood.
Why isn't that shit illegal? What if somebody said, "Look, man, I'm gonna give you something, and you're gonna give me something that's
that's
not
like
what
going.
you
That's like going. That's like going to the supermarket and say, "Yo, give me a pound of ham," and you give you
Yeah.
3/4 of a pound for the price of a pound.
But you know why? You know why?
Am I lying? Isn't that like that? They're robbing us.
You know
Yeah.
why, Chris? You know why it's legal? It's like taxes. Why are taxes legal? Because people keep saying yes to it.
Well, you know
Right?
what? Today I'm saying no. I want a real 2x4.
Well, this is not
Yeah,
enough.
go
of us
find
to say,
it. Go
it's been
find it.
accepted so long that we need more than that.
Go
My
find
friend,
it.
he could tear it down, but at that price, my friend E here wants to know tearing it down. At that price, no way. When
Well,
you buy
that
older,
means you're paying 165 for the dirt, and now you have to look back and say, what's the dirt worth?
yeah,
That's what you
no
pay for,
price.
and
Only way
maybe even less because now you got to pay for the tear down.
Yeah, there's a cost to tear it down. There's a cost to remove the rubbish.
cost.
Let me
The
tell you, man,
price will
getting rid of
determine all
garbage
this.
is expensive.
Oh yeah,
You got lead-based paint, asbestos, and you know what? You got to have a license. Y'all know. So y'all, when you tear a house down, you can't just go in. I thought tearing it down, shit. And I was tearing it down, right? No, they
Nope.
have an inspector that will go in
They
there.
have to inspect the house before they tear it down to tell you how to tear it down.
And then you got to take the lead paint. If they find lead paint or asbestos, that's got to be separated and go to a
First.
different landfill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That you got to pay more money for.
you
When
might
I
have to
heard this
talk
shit,
you might have to talk the house.
I'm so pissed when I'm like, I'm thinking get a bulldozer, tear shit down, whatever.
You think it's gonna be like Forrest Gump when he knocks down Jenny's
Yeah.
house, the bulldozer comes right over and it's done with, right? Nah.
I don't know. I'm a fan of.
Tear it
It's
down.
easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission at times. So
Well, the guys won't come out around here. The guys won't come out unless you got to have the permit, right? They have these things where they test. They will go in the house and test every wall to make sure it's not asbestos. And if it is, you have to cut it out, remove it, and like Dan said, it goes to another. I'm like, man, these fools.
I truly believe this shit all goes to the same thing.
This is new. Asbestos is old. No, there was no house here. It was just land.
So, guys,
This one?
everyone here, you could call in your question
No asbestos.
757-204-1332.
Old house.
I'm a little surprised though we gotten is one call tonight, Chris, to be honest.
That's because Chris's technology.
Yeah, did you guys get a lot of calls last week when I was gone?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did. That's because you back, Dan. Don't nobody want. I know y'all want Dan to leave. You can say it. Y'all can say it. E. Bellamy, what up? That's right. Offer a price that works.
Offer the price that works. If the
You got
price
that, E.
doesn't work, you walk away.
You got it.
Yep.
Oh, that you guys talked about that today too, right? Just stick to your numbers. We make so many offers sometimes we don't even remember them, like Chris
I
said
don't even
today
remember.
on the class, right? It's the truth. It's not about brag. We're not bragging. It's just, I think one of the reasons we don't remember, Chris, is because we're so detached from the process
Outcome.
emotionally that it's things that we do. It's not things that actually happen.
I love that. I want to talk about that because I used to see my mentor. I would watch him walk through a house and he would forget it so quick. I would be so attracted to that. I'm like, I want that. Because I used to walk through him and I would be like, man, I would look around. I could just see so much new kitchen, new this. I would be so into the property. But then I noticed him, and he walk outside, and we'd be looking at the next 10 we were going to look at, and I'm like, let's talk about that one. And he goes, I mean, yeah, we're gonna offer 80 grand. I mean, what do you want to talk about? I mean, he had no thought about it.
No,
He was on to the neck. I'm like, don't you want to talk about the one we just looked at? He's like,
No, it's done.
no, I mean, we just looked at it. I'm
I'm
like,
not gonna waste any more
holy
time on
shit.
that one.
Huh?
No, you don't waste any more time on it.
No,
You
you
just
give your offer, and if it comes through, then you worry about everything else. If it doesn't,
Dude.
fine, you move on to the next one anyway.
But that mindset, you guys have it. You weren't born with it. I didn't have it at first too. And I've seen people. I've taken mentees with me, and they've watched me, and I see them with that. I see them how they watch me. I'm like, I'm not, dude. Once I walk out of the property, I don't even fucking remember. I mean, I promise you, and it's not just me. You know how people are like, don't you remember it? It had this and this and this
You
and
know
that.
what?
I'm like,
I'm not gonna lie to you. My brother has a good memory, and sometimes we'd be in a car arguing. But what we were just there last week. Don't you remember that? So I'm like, no, just give me the address. I'll check my notes, and that's how I remember. I don't remember. Right? Am I lying, David?
no, but there's
yes,
so
right.
we have
Important
gone to
documents.
Florida and literally in one day put in 15 offers, but we do
I can't
them as
remember
we're
that.
walking through them. We I know so a lot of people they would go look at all the properties,
Not Lincoln.
then they would make their notes, and then they're gonna go make the offer that night. Like we are making the offers as we're walking through. We're doing the numbers. All right, this is going to cost 20 to chain. This one's going to cost 20 to turn. This one's 10. If okay, so if this turn if when we sell it, it's 200, then we got to back that out. Boom, boom. Okay, so let's put an offer of this,
Okay.
and then
David, you know
that's it.
what? You just went too fast. Let's break that down for people.
Well, I mean, that's how you look at it.
Okay, let's take this call because I want to come back to this because you broke that down too fast for people.
Let me do this. For some reason, yo, caller, I'm so sorry, but my technology has failed us tonight. I'm going to restart my phone. But you can ask your question, but we'll have to answer it after you get off the phone. Caller, state your name, where you're calling from, and hit your question.
It's Allison from Brooklyn.
Allison, what up?
Allison in the house.
Allison, there she is.
Oh, sorry.
We need Allison. We need you.
She felt sorry for us. She was like,
Allison, Kris Haskins needs your technical
I have a
support.
question.
shut the hell up.
So Dan, for the flat roof, you said you wait a couple years before you put the aluminum coating on there. From what month can I put the coating on?
Wow, you were paying attention today, Allison, in the class. Thank you.
All right, Allison. Talk to you later. See, I'll talk to you later.
So, what happens with flat roofs is that
First of all, what's a flat roof? No, don't do this shit. What is a flat roof? What the hell? You think
guys,
people
like
know what
here
this
in
is?
the city, when you go to like Philadelphia, you go to Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Boston, New York, Chicago. There's flat roofs, right? Not all the roofs are pitch, where you would then have shingle roofs, right? We use flat roofs here, and they're usually in a pitch so that the water goes down towards the gutter and then down the drains and then away from the homes or into the sewer lines, right? Um, so what normally happens is if it's a brand new flat roof, I'm not going to do any aluminum coating for at least a year. Right now, the aluminum coating, the reason we do aluminum coating on the roof is it works like a moisturizer. Imagine if you were sitting on the roof, what would happen to your skin, right? If you go to the beach and you just sit or walking in the sun all day, uh, or working in the sun all day, besides using sunblock, you're also going to be using moisturizer. Otherwise, your skin is going to get really wrinkly. It's going to become it, it, uh, elastic, right? You
Dry.
lose.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is, so does the roof, right? So what you're putting is this aluminum coating on the roof. It works as a moisturizer for the roof, but it also prevents the sun from getting into the apartments below, right? It's reflecting the sun. It's reflecting the heat away from the roof. So the apartment below is not using up a lot of energy or not using up as much energy to cool that apartment because of the heat that's coming from the roof. That's number one. Number two, about every 4 to 5 years, I will go to every single flat roof with what they call a membrane, which is like a mesh. It's about 6 inches wide, and wherever the seams are and alongside and along the edges, I'm going to put down the membrane, and I'm going to also put down roofing cement. And then I'm going to wait about 6 months. So we normally do that in the month of March. And then we wait about 6 months, and we go back in the month of September when it's not as hot. You don't want to be working on the roof when the sun is beating down on you. And we're going to then put the aluminum coating over that, right? So now, let's say if I had a 25-year rubber roof, I could go 40 years with that roof if I do that every 5 years.
Mm.
And it
Rubber
prevents
roofs.
leaks. And the reason I do the roofing cement with the membrane is because it's preventing leaks. It's what we call preventive maintenance, right? So I normally schedule that in the spring for the roof, for the membrane and the roofing cement, and then we go back in the fall to do the aluminum coating.
All right. Good one. Good one. All right. Well, we'll take one more call. If anybody has something, Dan,
Yeah,
seven
take
five
one more
seven
call, but
two
I
zero
want to get
four.
back to what my brother was saying earlier. So what my brother was describing was back from like 2010 to 2018, we would be looking at no less than 15 to 30 houses a day,
Okay, we're talking about our
right?
mental
And
space
when we
intimacy.
went in there, we wouldn't even be taking notes. We'd walk around, and he would say, hey, or I would point out something to him. He would point out something to me, and we would figure in. At one point, we weren't even together. We'd have to get 2 cars and then go look at all these properties separately so that we could cover more ground to outbeat our competition. Speed is important in this business, right?
Mm.
So we would go through the properties, and we know what it's going to cost us to turn over that property because of our experience. So if I say this property is going to cost us 50,000, but we could only sell it for 200, I can't pay more than 60 grand for this, 65,000, because and of course, depending on the age of the house as well. The younger the house, the less what I called might as wells or maybes I would put into the number. The might as wells are, I'm doing this, I might as well do that too. Or
Mhm.
the maybes are, this is a really old house. It was built 30 years ago. The area is really moist. I'm looking at the way the elevation around the house is, and the water looks like it's hitting the left side of the house instead of running away from the house. It's going towards the house. So it's
Yep.
safe to assume that I have termite issues in there, right? So I'm going to have to open up these walls, and that's going to cost me another $10,000, let's
It's
say,
coming.
right? So I'm thinking worst case scenario. So when we look at our numbers, we start with what can we possibly sell the house for? And then we back out the numbers. It's going to cost me 50,000. So if it's 200, now it's 150. Then I know what my spread has got to be profitable. So I can't pay more than 65,000 for the house. So we start from the selling number, and then we back out all of our expenses,
Yeah, you're
including our
basically
profits.
starting backwards, but like where you are, I'm sure you may buy single family homes, but they're typically the same style. Maybe ones are 50, 100, 200 square feet larger, but there are probably maybe 3 1s or 3 2s, ranch styles, right? So even though it
Yeah.
may not be all in the same community, they're all in the same area.
Yep.
So like any other town or city, right, you have those common homes. So if you're doing that home over and over and over, you kind of know what
Same.
your cost is going to be, or your worst case scenario cost, right? So that's why some people used to say, I don't understand. You bought this house and you didn't even look at it. Like, well, because we've done this same style home 15 times already. So, and the most it's ever cost us with the new HVAC, vents,
60,000.
lighting,
Yeah.
electric, this was that.
Mhm.
So we throw that number out, and if it sticks, we buy it. There's been times, I'll give you an example. Remember the one that we bought, Danny? We walked in at night. It was actually my unit that I bought. Remember personally for the college fund. So we walk
Oh, yeah.
in. It's a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. We walk in, and there's no lights on. I'm
No, like
like,
it
we
was,
got to
and
see it.
it was like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, we got to see. It was pitch black. We just have like little lights. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Just that's fine. I think we might have paid like 150,000 for it or something. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Just buy it. We come back the next day after we close, and I'm like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this place
Oh,
looks great. This Chris, they had brand new carpets,
brand new
paint,
appliances.
You didn't
brand
see
new
it.
we didn't even see
We
it
didn't even
like
see
that.
it.
It was so dark. And I'm like, dude, there's nothing to do.
And I'm looking at my brother like, of course you'd be the one to buy this and not the couple.
Once in a while, it happens.
We didn't even have to paint it.
No.
Actually, I felt so bad. I put moldings in it. Remember?
Yeah.
Call and state your name. Where you calling from?
This is Patrick from Alabama.
Hey, Patrick. What's up,
How are
homie?
you, Patrick?
Thanks for coming to the class today.
What's up? Oh yeah. I was in class.
Thanks for coming, brother.
My question, I have two questions. If that's okay.
Well, they can't. For some reason, my technology is working, so they won't be able to answer on. You won't be able to hear them. They can only hear me. So I would do the one if you could, because they're not going to be able to do it one.
Okay, I got you on my laptop, but it's fine.
Oh, okay. Well,
Then,
if they can
okay,
hear
yeah,
you,
then that, yeah,
hit
you
it.
can hear us fine. Let's go for it.
Well, the first one, I had a smoker inside one of my apartments, and they left a lot of tar in my return unit. I was wondering, what do they do as far as cleaning out the ducts or whatever?
Oh, God.
Because it left a lot of gunk. No, I didn't know anything. I didn't know that they smoked, but when I went to the apartment, it was a lot of gunk in the return. And
all right, so Patrick, this is the problem when you have a lot of that nicotine gunk in the.
I was just really trying to get the aspects, but I have another question. But if that's possible, you have a lot of that nicotine.
All right, let's go ahead and let them answer
the first one.
Let them. You got a question. All right, we know that one, the smoke. How to get rid of that? What's the second question, Patrick?
Let them answer the first one.
So when it comes to cigarette smoking, most people don't cigarette smokers in general don't realize how difficult it makes it for property managers, property owners. So the first thing you probably have to do, if the ducts are that bad, you also have to literally encapsulate the smell in the walls. And the way we've done that in the past is we literally, after we finish fixing the walls, we will spray kill the walls.
We got to do ammonia first, then we'll put the kills on it.
You could put the ammonia first, to wipe them down, but you also have to spray. It's called, the paint is called Kill. Kill.
You put the oil base on the wall, Dan?
No, they come with a water base, but it's like, made. They have different kills, right? Some for stains, some for the smells, but that specific paint will get rid of the smell before you paint the walls. Then you have to get someone to come in to do the duct work, and what they normally do is they go in there and they will clean as much of that nicotine out of the duct work. But then what they do is they spray the duct work. They will re-spray the ductwork to encapsulate what they didn't catch, right? So that it's like almost like an enamel spray paint is what they're doing. This is not cheap.
God.
The other thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to drop the coils from the air handler that's inside the apartment and take it outside the apartment or the home and power wash the coils. Because if they just do the vents without removing the coils from the air handler, you're going to have all that nicotine go right back into your vents. So this is not an easy process, and it's not a cheap process. It's a very expensive process.
All right, your next question, Patrick.
Yeah, I was to the end of it. Yeah, my next question is more like I had a problem which I got rid of those plumbers, which I use a third party management company, and they had a clog in a toilet, but this happened this past week. But they said that they couldn't guarantee it because it was a toilet that was a 2000 model, which I never heard of. And I told them, well, get somebody else because that's bull crap. I mean, all the guts is brand new inside, but just because of the age of the toilet, they couldn't guarantee that they could keep that line I guess, clear it up. I never heard anything like that. So,
yeah, I've not.
Okay, I'll get them on that one, Patrick. I'll get them on answer, brother. Thank you.
Never heard anything like that.
All right, thanks for calling, buddy.
David, you answer that one. I think didn't we have a situation like that at 3502 Windsor Walk?
With the say it again, which I can barely hear the
The
question.
toilet's clogged, and the guy
Dad,
Oh.
want
the
to
guy was saying
guarantee it.
that the toilet was too old, so we changed.
What?
This is a funny story.
No one wants to be on the hook for nothing.
I
Don't nobody want to be on the hook for shit.
We
I
had
don't
a,
know if I should say the whole story. It is a funny story.
Hurry up, say the story.
So Caesar was a guy who used to work for us, right? And
that guy would go out anytime we called him.
no matter
This
what.
was a Sunday. He was on his way out with his
It
family.
was always a Sunday. So Caesar was like, yeah, this guy goes out on the weekends, eats and drinks, and does whatever else he wants to do, and he takes all these vitamins. So his stomach is always backed up. So I'm like, well, how do you know that? Like, he's like, he tells me this stuff. So he's like, it's always a Sunday the toilets gets backed up. So Caesar would go there with the grinder, to chop it up. Yeah, because
That's real bad.
His feces would not go into the toilet. It was like wouldn't
that
roll,
bad.
right? So one day the guy Caesar calls. He's like, "That's it. I'm not doing this no more." I said, "Well, what happened?"
I'm tired of this shit.
It's legit, right? So he's like,
It always happened on a Sunday.
He's like, David, I'm sitting there, and I got my gloves on and I got a bag on and I'm trying to pull this thing out of the toilet.
Trying to pull the guy's shit out of the toilet.
So he took the toilet off and he's got it flipped over. He's trying to pull it out. And the guy opens the door. He goes, damn, that shit stinks. Caesar's like,
it's your shit.
It's your shit. So Caesar left the toilet there, threw it in the tub. It's like, I'm out of here.
Come on.
Oh, word?
Yeah. And then I said, listen, you want him to come back up, you got to pay for that. It's $500. We're going to put a brand new toilet on there. And from now on, if this happens again, we're charging you $4.95 each time.
I like that.
It never happened again.
That's when I started putting the unclogged toilet fee on my leases.
Yeah. Well,
it was the funniest thing.
His plumber in Patrick's case, his plumber doesn't want to warranty the line, the galvanized line, right? Is that where
if it's galvanized, there's a reason why he doesn't want to warranty it. Listen, now let's talk about that. I just got
the snake is whipping like this, and depending on how old that line is, it might find a breaching point or a thin point in the line, and it just cracks. Yeah.
Listen, I just got an insurance renewal Friday, and they put exceptions that they put new exceptions on the insurance policy, and they want me to sign the exceptions. And one of the exceptions is if there's a water leak due to a waistline that is galvanized, they will not pay for any of the repairs.
I believe it.
And another policy, another insurance company on last week, the week before, sends me something similar, but saying they want to come in and do an inspection to make sure there's no galvanized plumbing. So galvanized plumbing is a problem, guys. I want the audience to truly understand that galvanized is something that was used many years ago, but it does rust and rot, and it's not something that, and it usually rots out at fittings, couplings, and elbows and 45s, right? On the straight length, it normally doesn't, but it's always the fittings, the elbows, the couplings, and the 45s. So
we have terracotta down here. Sometimes it gets even worse. It's older than that.
Well,
the terracotta, that stuff just crumbles.
Yeah, that's like a clay line. You can't touch it or get around it.
You touch it,
you start moving the dirt around it. The dirt is what's really holding it together.
Wow. Ernesto, thank you for joining us today, man. It was an honor to see you, my man. You guys have some good questions. Yeah, it's been an honor hanging out with the Borrero brothers. Y'all, as we're leaving, give us something that's going to carry us through the week. You guys been doing this shit for so long. Let's start with Dan. Give us something, Dan, that can help us stay focused for this week.
guys, I'm getting so many questions and DMs asking me about Trump's policies, how it's going to affect the real estate market, how it's going to affect Section 8, how is it going to affect FHA. Look, the reality is that no matter what administration comes in, every new administration comes in and comes in with their own policies, and they're to some people it's more disruptive than others. But it is our job as entrepreneurs, I don't care what business you're in, is to anticipate based on, their performance in their past positions or their rhetoric that they were stating that they were going to do. But what really says what they're going to do is the people that they put into their cabinets, right? So that's going to give you a true indication of which direction they're going in. So what we need to do is to understand what's happening and not bitch about it as much as pivot, adjust, because there's money to be made. Doesn't matter who the president is, right? So I know that people are going a little crazy right now. Pay attention, read. Don't get your information from Fox or CNN. Those are editorials. They're just trying to sell you fear. Read, people. Take the time out. Read. Bloomberg News is a really good indicator. But again, we pivot and we adjust, and then we make money.
I want everybody to know here that all of us on this screen here, we are debt averse people, right? And I don't think they understand when I tell them then that all of us are extremely conservative. People look at us like we take hella risk. And then when I look in the mirror, I'm like, yo, I'm the most, I don't take, I don't even consider myself a risky dude. I'm like, I
don't even consider what we do risky. We've been doing it so long.
It's not even risky to me.
It's not. I mean, I guess if you don't, it's like anything else in life. Things you don't do, you have fear, which then is interpreted sometimes as being risky. But now you look at someone like Chris or myself or my brother that we do it every day. I can write $100,000, $200,000 check without seeing something, but I won't go buy a car for $200,000 ever. I don't know if it'll ever happen. Like I'm going to think about this. I'm not.
I love it.
Although I think about it, it's not like our thought process on how we manage the level of thinking. It's just like that. But if you put like a liability in front of me to spend $200,000, I'm not really thinking about if I can afford it. I'm thinking about like if I actually want to spend the money on that. What am I going to get at?
Yeah, I will think of so much longer on buying a new car versus going to buy a condo or house.
It's crazy, right?
My brother will tell you that.
I love
it. We have Chris. We own property we've never seen till today. Right now, we've still never seen it.
I couldn't go to it even if you paid me. I don't even know where it's at.
It's funny. The mentees.
I got to put it in GPS.
Yeah, sometimes the mentees come with us, right?
Oh, that
we'll go to a complex.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I think we own one right here. Like, I think it's right here. And they're like, well, you don't know. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I mean, they got to look.
This one complex. I think Eric Bellamy was there with us that time. He's on here now. We must have owned like 30, 40 doors in that one complex. The complex has 552 doors, right? So we're walking by. David's like, I think we own this one. I'm like, let me check them. Let me check the inventory. I says, okay, yeah, this is the one we own. We're like, let's go knock on the door and introduce ourselves.
Yeah, I don't do it. Danny does that.
All right, anyway, let's get at it.
It's I don't know. I think consistency, piggyback on what Danny was saying, action and consistency is what keeps you together and keeps you moving. And regardless of who's in office, I know that's the hot topic right now. And I think more people are looking for excuses of why they should not do something now, as opposed to keep doing what you're doing, right? Because taking action and consistency on the long run, my brother and I have been doing this for over 30 years. Chris has been doing this, 20 somewhat years. There's been good, bad, and ugly times throughout those 20, 30 years that we've been doing this. And what's kept us alive and gotten us to where we are today, where everyone says, wow, look at you, is the consistency in taking action. Right? But it was not always easy keeping the course. Oh, no. But if you stay the course, the sun will shine one day.
Sacrifice.
Yes.
Round up
Absolutely.
as we conclude. I love you. I want to leave you with this. This is nothing but love, right? If you don't see yourself or if you're not going to closings, we must remember. I tell myself this too. Just because I'm not going to closings doesn't mean closings aren't happening.
Every day.
People are buying and selling real estate every day. They're just not selling it to me. I have to remind myself if I don't have a closing for a week or 2 weeks, right? I'm like, people say all the time, I'm in the hottest market in so and so. I'm in the hottest market. You don't know how hot it is around here. It's hard to do a deal. I'm like, dude, it's saturated.
We
People
have
are
not
buying and
had an
selling.
easy market in 14 years.
Yeah, people.
Like before COVID, it wasn't easy. After COVID, it got worse.
It's
But it
not
wasn't
easy.
easy before COVID. Before COVID, we had, you know, we thought it was like, wow, what was it, like 9 years or something, 10 years? It was like, then COVID hits and we're like, oh shit, here it comes. And then it just dipped and
Kept going.
right. So yeah, if that's your excuse, then I don't know why we're still talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember, people are buying and selling houses all the time, every day. If you're not doing a deal, that just means they're not selling to you. Okay. Roundup, I love you. Make sure you share this information with some of your friends, family, colleagues. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next Sunday right here. Thank
And
you, guys.
actually,
Oh,
hold on. Next Sunday, we're gonna have a new tech guy, so it'll be working. The phone number.
fuck out of here. Okay.
Chris, you might not have a job next Sunday.
Look. Where's my
Had to
little
put that in at the last minute, Chris.
Never said don't fire Chris.
join our waiting list for the ultimate landlord survival guide in the video description. Peace, y'all.
Take care,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys. Have a great one.
Fuck